Hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking about two-step equations, and the strategy we're going to be really looking at is the opposite strategy. So remember that two-step problems are equations that can be solved within two steps, and we're going to use the skills that we learned from the one-step equations and apply it into this in this different situation. So when you're solving two-step equations, it's always good to see if you need to complete any combining of like terms or distributive property, because that is what you need to do first. There's none of that in this first example, but please keep that in mind. The next step is to start with the operation furthest away from the variable, but on the same side of the equal sign, and move it by completing the opposite operation. So we want to get that x or that variable all by itself, just like in one-step equations. But in this equation, we have two numbers kind of being a pest to the x. We have that 3 right next to the x. I kind of think of that as like the best friends, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever is the strongest relationship that you can think of. They're right attached to the hip, but that x wants to get away now, so we're going to have to get that x by itself. This plus 11, I like to think of it as that friend that sometimes hangs out, but then sometimes doesn't and hangs out with other friends. So that is the friend we're going to get rid of first, because that 11 is not right attached to the hip, just like that 3 is. So I'm going to get rid of that positive 11. Since it's a positive 11, or adding 11, I'm going to do the opposite strategy, which is subtract 11 on both sides in order to get the 3x by itself. So 11 minus 11 cancels out, leaving that 3x by itself. And on the other side of the equal sign, I have 2 minus 11. And 2 minus 11 is negative 9. Great. Now that you've taken that one step, you're going to see that this looks like the one-step equations that we've already talked about. So we have 3x equals negative 9. Again, 3 and x are multiplying by each other. We want to get the x by itself, so we're going to divide by 3 on both sides to get x is equal to negative 3. Great, you have x by itself, but always make sure that you check your answer by plugging it back in the equation. So 3 times negative 3 plus 11 should equal 2. Well, I know that 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. And if I add that to 11, that does equal 2. Great, I have checked my answer and I know that I can get 100% on this question because I have plugged that back in. If you plug it in and it doesn't work, that means something is wrong. So an awesome part of this is before you even turn in your test, you can already know what your grade is just by plugging in your answer. Okay, here we go. Here's our next problem. We have x divided by 2 minus 6 equals 10. So in this situation, we're going to follow those same rules. There's nothing to combine, nothing to distribute, so we're going to go straight on to taking away the operation that is furthest away from the x, but on the same side of that equal sign. In this case, this 2 is attached to the x. They're right underneath each other. It's separated. There's nothing else up here. So they're the best friend, boyfriend, girlfriend relationship. They're the ones that are a little harder to break up. But this minus 6 is kind of out on the outskirts, so we're going to get rid of him first. So we have minus 6. Again, since it's a negative 6, I can do the opposite operation, which is adding 6. And I now have x divided by 2 is equal to 16. And there we go, we're back at our one-step problems again. So what I need to do is now get rid of this dividing by 2, because that x just wants to be by itself. Since it is dividing by 2, I need to do the opposite operation, which is going to be multiplying. And what you do on one side of the equal sign, you have to do to the other. So we can just imagine that division line's kind of just extended, and 2 divided by 2 cancels right out, leaving that x all by itself. And 16 times 2 is equal to 32. Great, again, I have my x all by itself, but I am still not done because I need to check my work. And if I plug in 32 in for x, I will have 32 divided by 2 minus 6 should equal 10. Well, 32 divided by 2 is going to be 16. And 16 minus 6 does equal 10. Great. Another one solved, another one 100% done. The next problem that we are going to be doing looks similar, but it's slightly different. So we have x minus 3 divided by 4 equals 6. So unlike our previous problem, where that dividing by 2 was the best friend or boyfriend, girlfriend with the x, in this problem, that negative 3 is actually the closest to x. And that's because they're both being completely divided by 4. So in this case, this dividing line is a kind of a barrier. So they're kind of on the out, so we need to make that 4 go to the other side. So since it's dividing by 4, again, I'm going to do my opposite operation of multiplying by 4 on both sides to get that x minus 3 by itself. 4 divided by 4 cancels right out, leaving x minus 3. And that is equal to 24. Now I need to get that x by itself. Since this is a negative 3, I'm going to add 3 to get it to the other side. Negative 3 plus 3 cancel out, leaving me x equals 27. But you know what comes next. We have to check our answers. So I am going to plug in 27 in for x, subtract it by 3, and divide it by 4. And that should equal 6. 27 minus 3 is going to be 24. And 24 divided by 4 is 6. Great job. Another 100%. Please make sure that you are following your steps. Please identify what is the closest operation to the variable, and you will do great. Practice makes perfect, so make sure you are looking at both set of notes and trying your best. Good luck.